It was supposed to be a night of celebration, Jake's birthday dinner, the one night of the year when everyone would come together to honor the guy who had it all, the charm, the success, the perfect life, or so it seemed. His friends surrounded him, toasting to his accomplishments, laughing, enjoying the kind of night people only dream about. But Emily? She wasn't celebrating. In fact, she was waiting for the right moment to turn the tables on everything she'd been forced to endure. The lies, the betrayal, the humiliating story that had been spun about her behind her back. For months, Jake and her best friend Natalie had made her the villain in their twisted narrative. He'd told everyone she was too clingy, too emotional, the one who had ruined his life. They'd blocked her, deleted her, and posted those perfect pictures online, showing the world just how happy they were together. But Emily wasn't a victim anymore. As the clinking of glasses filled the air, and Jake grinned like he had all the power in the world, Emily stood up. The room fell into an eerie silence as everyone waited, puzzled by her sudden move. Without hesitation, she raised her glass. "To truth," she said, her voice calm but sharp, "because it's time everyone knew exactly what's been going on." The eyes of the room shifted from her to Jake, then to Natalie. And in that moment, Emily knew this was it, the moment she would reclaim her power and shatter their perfect little illusion once and for all. What happened next? No one saw it coming. Emily Carter had always been the kind of girl people underestimated. At 24, she was soft-spoken but sharp, kind-hearted but observant, and loyal to a fault. She worked as a graphic designer at a local firm in Austin, Texas, and had been dating Jake Bennett, 26, for nearly 2 years. Jake was charming, witty, and worked as a music producer. Together, they looked like the perfect couple until they weren't. It started subtly, the way things always do when someone's trying to rewrite the narrative of your life. Jake became distant, brushing off Emily's attempts to spend time together. He was always working late, or just tired, or needed space to think. Emily didn't push. She thought maybe he was going through something. But behind the silence, behind the unanswered texts and missed calls, something darker was brewing. Jake had started telling their mutual friends that Emily was obsessed, emotionally suffocating, and completely delusional. According to him, she was calling him 10 times a day, tracking his location and crying if he didn't reply in 5 minutes. None of it was true, but truth doesn't stand a chance against a good lie told often enough. What made it worse was who was helping him spread those lies. Her best friend? Natalie Reed. Natalie had been Emily's closest friend since college. She knew everything. Emily's insecurities, dreams, fears, and especially how much she loved Jake. They had double dates, brunches, sleepovers, the kind of friendship Emily thought was unbreakable. Until one day, it all snapped. One morning, Emily woke up to a storm of texts from her co-workers. Screenshots of Instagram flooded her phone. Jake and Natalie had posted a carousel of pictures. Beach selfies, cozy couch cuddles, and one especially painful shot of them kissing with the caption, "Found the one I never expected." Emily stared at her phone in silence. She clicked Jake's profile. Blocked. Then Natalie's. Also blocked. They hadn't even given her the courtesy of confrontation. No explanation, no guilt, just curated happiness for the world to admire. The comments were full of hearts and "OMG, I knew it," and "You two look amazing together." No one questioned what had happened to Emily. But Emily wasn't going to beg. Not this time. She spent 2 weeks processing, quietly watching the chaos unfold around her. Friends started pulling away. Some believed Jake's story. Some were too afraid to take sides. A few sent her awkward texts like, "Are you okay?" or "This is so crazy." But no one really stood by her. Until she got a message from someone she hadn't expected. Olivia Chen, Jake's ex-girlfriend from years ago. "I believe you," the message read. "He did the same thing to me." That one line cracked something wide open. Olivia explained everything, how Jake had manipulated her, cheated on her with someone close, turned their friend group against her, then played victim. He had a pattern. And this time, he picked Emily and Natalie as his next act. That's when Emily stopped crying. She started planning. Jake's birthday was coming up. A private dinner with his family and closest friends at a rented rooftop restaurant. Emily knew about it because she was the one who helped him plan it months ago. And even though he blocked her on social media, she still had access to his shared calendar. It was set for Saturday at 7 p.m. She RSVP'd anonymously. She booked a table nearby, pretending to be someone else. She even tipped the staff generously to keep quiet. No one expected her to show up, but she would. She wasn't going to scream. She wasn't going to cry. She was going to make a toast. And when she did, no one at that table would ever forget it. Jake had lied before, but this time, the truth was coming. And Emily wasn't coming alone. Saturday evening arrived with a soft, amber sky casting golden hues over the Austin skyline. The rooftop venue was elegant, bathed in warm lighting, and filled with Jake's family, friends, and industry contacts. Everyone was laughing, sipping wine, and waiting for the birthday boy to make his grand entrance. What they didn't know was that someone else had already arrived. Emily walked in alone, dressed in a black silk dress that matched the cold determination in her eyes. No one recognized her at first. She'd changed her hairstyle, added subtle makeup, and carried herself with a quiet poise that made her look like someone who belonged anywhere she chose to be. She was seated 2 tables away, close enough to see everyone, yet far enough to be unnoticed. She watched. Jake walked in hand with Natalie. They were the center of attention, glowing, laughing, soaking in compliments like royalty. Natalie wore a dress Emily had once lent her, one she claimed made her look too fancy for brunch. Now she wore it proudly, like a trophy. They looked untouchable, but not invincible. Dinner started. Toasts were made. Jake's mom cried while raising her glass, saying how proud she was. Jake smirked, glancing at Natalie with an air of smugness, like he had truly won. But Emily knew something no one else in that room did. She had receipts, not just screenshots of their Instagram posts or old texts. She had bank statements showing Natalie had been secretly transferring money from Emily's shared streaming account, even after they blocked her. She had voice recordings Jake accidentally sent to a mutual friend, where he bragged about how easy it was to turn everyone against the psycho. And she had something better. Screenshots of Jake messaging a third girl, one neither Natalie nor the guests knew about. Halfway through dinner, a waitress walked to Jake with a smile. "Miss Carter wanted to send over this bottle of wine. Compliments of the house." Jake froze. Natalie stiffened beside him. A few heads turned. He looked around, trying to play it cool, but his hand trembled as he poured the wine. He knew. She was there. Emily stood up. Her heels clicked against the polished floor as she walked toward the center table. Conversation stopped. Forks paused mid-air. Natalie's smile dropped. Emily picked up a clean glass and poured herself a drink from the bottle she'd just sent. Then, she turned to the room with a calm smile. "I'd like to make a toast." A few people nodded politely, unsure who she even was. Jake's mom tilted her head in confusion. Natalie's face drained of all color. "To Jake," Emily said, lifting her glass, "for always being the life of the party, the center of attention, and the greatest storyteller I've ever known." Nervous laughter bubbled at one of the side tables. She smiled wider. "After all, it takes real talent to convince an entire room that your ex-girlfriend was crazy while secretly sleeping with her best friend. Oh, and also texting a girl named Kayla from Houston, telling her Natalie was just your roommate." The silence that followed was absolute. Jake stood slowly, his face tight. "Emily, what are you doing?" "I'm just telling the truth. Since it's your birthday and all, I thought we should celebrate the real you. Not the version that posts beach pics and sob stories, but the one who manipulates, lies, and cheats." Murmurs erupted. Someone at the back whispered, "Wait, what?" Natalie looked around, her eyes wide with panic, then tried to grab Jake's arm. He pulled away. Emily continued, "And for those of you wondering if I'm making this up, check your phones." Right on cue, multiple guests' phones lit up. Olivia, the ex-girlfriend who messaged Emily, had helped send a scheduled email blast to every person on Jake's invite list, including screenshots, recordings, and even side-by-side date stamps showing Jake was seeing Natalie while he was still in a relationship with Emily. Gasps filled the air. Someone whispered, "Oh my God," and someone else got up and left. Jake's manager pulled out his phone and stared in disbelief. His sister looked at him like she'd never seen him before. Natalie stood abruptly, nearly knocking her chair over. "You're obsessed. This is why no one likes you." Emily tilted her head. "You wore my dress, slept with my boyfriend, lied to my face. And I was the obsessed one?" Natalie opened her mouth but said nothing, because she had no idea what was coming next. Emily pulled out a small envelope from her clutch and placed it on the table. "What's that?" Jake asked, his voice cracking. "It's your contract offer, or it was. From that record label you begged me to help you pitch to. Remember? The one I got you the meeting for because I knew the director's wife?" Jake's eyes widened. "What did you do?" Emily looked him dead in the eye. "I pulled it. You're done." He laughed, but it was hollow. "You think you have that kind of power?" "I don't think, I know. And the best part? I never had to lie." People stood. Some walked away. Others stared at Jake like he was contagious. The table that once celebrated him now looked like a crime scene. And as Emily turned to leave, she glanced over her shoulder one last time. "I was never the clingy one, Jake. I was the one who actually loved you. Too bad you'll only realize that when the last person leaves." She walked out into the night, the door clicking shut behind her. But this wasn't the end, because what Emily didn't know was that Natalie had a secret of her own, one that even Jake didn't see coming. The fallout from that night hit like an earthquake. By morning, Jake's social media was flooded, not with birthday wishes, but with angry comments, screenshots, and unfollows. Brands he had been negotiating with ghosted him. His sister publicly called him out in an Instagram story. And Natalie disappeared completely. She deactivated all her accounts within hours. Emily hadn't expected silence. She expected rage, denial, maybe even more lies. But nothing came. No apology, no phone call, just an empty, eerie quiet from the two people who had broken her the most. 3 days passed before the first whisper surfaced. It came from Olivia, who had continued to dig after the email blast went out. She messaged Emily again, this time with something far more interesting than sympathy. A blurry photo snapped outside a local pharmacy, showing Natalie, alone, pale, and visibly upset, arguing with someone on the phone. Olivia didn't know what it meant, but Emily had a gut feeling. She forwarded the photo to another mutual friend, Layla, who still occasionally saw Natalie at her gym. Layla responded almost instantly. "She's pregnant." Emily stared at the message. Her chest tightened. "She's what?" Layla continued. "She told the trainer last week. She thought no one heard. She said she's not even sure who the father is." Emily dropped her phone. For a full minute, she just sat there, hands shaking. All this time, she thought she'd uncovered everything. The cheating, the manipulation, the public humiliation. But this changed everything. If Natalie was pregnant and unsure who the father was, then Jake may not have only destroyed her emotionally, but also sabotaged himself beyond repair. A scandal like that wouldn't just end his career. It could destroy his family's reputation. His father, a respected real estate developer in Texas, had built their image around trust and discipline. Emily thought long and hard before deciding her next move. Revenge had always felt like fire, bright and fast. But this was slower, colder. It needed patience. So she waited. It took a week for Jake to finally reach out. A pathetic, half-hearted text that read, "Can we talk? Please. Just once." Emily didn't reply. 2 days later, Natalie messaged her. "I'm sorry. I didn't know he was still with you when it started, I swear. And I didn't know about Kayla until after everything happened." Emily stared at the message, stunned at the audacity. Natalie wasn't sorry she cheated. She was sorry she got caught. Then, a second message. "I need help, please. I don't know what to do." Emily didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, she went to see someone she hadn't spoken to in over a year. Jake's father. She showed up at his office with a folder in hand. Inside were screenshots, dates, messages, and the full timeline of what Jake had done. Not just to Emily, but to multiple women. She didn't do it to hurt Jake's father. She did it because she knew he valued legacy above everything. The older man said nothing at first, just stared at the documents, then leaned back in his chair, expression unreadable. "I'm not doing this for pity," Emily said quietly. "I'm doing this so you understand what kind of man you raised." 2 days later, Jake's name was removed from his father's company's board of advisors. All mentions of him on their website were scrubbed clean. And then the final twist came. From Natalie herself. Late one night, Emily received a voice memo. Shaky, tearful. "I lied. I knew he was with you. I just didn't care. I was jealous. You always got more attention, and he told me things. He said you were boring, too soft, like a burden. And I believed him. I thought if I had him, I'd feel better. But I don't. I feel disgusting. And the baby, it's not his, it's his brother's. We hooked up once when I was drunk. I haven't even told Jake. Please don't tell him. Please." Emily sat frozen. Her heart beat hard in her chest. She had never intended to destroy Natalie, just reveal the truth. But this was deeper than she imagined. She debated what to do. She could ruin them both in one final blow. One post, one email, one leak. But she didn't. Instead, she forwarded the message. To Jake. No caption, no warning. 5 minutes later, he called her. 10 times. She declined them all. The 11th time, she answered. "You're a monster," he hissed. "You ruined everything." "No," Emily said softly. "You did that all by yourself." She hung up. But Jake wasn't finished. He still had one last card to play. And when he played it, it would make everything worse. Much worse. Emily thought it was over. She had exposed them, cut off contact, and walked away with her dignity intact. But Jake couldn't leave it there. He needed someone to blame. And in his twisted logic, the girl he'd manipulated and betrayed was the perfect scapegoat. A week after she sent him the voice memo, Emily's inbox started flooding. But it wasn't hate from strangers this time. It was legal. Jake had filed a defamation lawsuit against her. He claimed she falsified evidence, doctored screenshots, and intentionally sabotaged his public image. Emily's jaw dropped as she read through the paperwork. He was trying to paint himself as the victim, using the same gaslighting tactics he had always used, just this time with lawyers behind him. At first, fear took over. She wasn't rich, she wasn't a lawyer. She worked in marketing at a mid-sized firm and had student loans and rent to worry about. But then she remembered who Jake really was. A man who thrived on silence, on making people afraid to speak. So she fought back. She hired a friend of a friend attorney who took the case pro bono, because even he had heard about Jake's little drama going viral. The internet, once a playground for Jake's curated lies, had shifted. Influencers started making story-time videos about Emily's toast. Reddit threads exploded with theories. The general consensus? He had it coming. But Jake wasn't done. He reached out to Kayla. Yes, the same girl he had cheated on Emily with before Natalie, and asked her to speak against Emily in court. He wanted to gather as many exes as possible who would support his claims that she was obsessive and vindictive. What he didn't know was that Kayla had already seen the writing on the wall. She messaged Emily. "He asked me to lie, to say you stalked him after we broke up. I'm not doing it. I'm not proud of what happened between us back then. But this is too far. If you need me to testify, I will." Emily couldn't believe it. The same girl who helped destroy her once was now willing to help her win. The court date approached, and Emily's nerves grew. But she had one final move up her sleeve. Her lawyer advised her to keep it for the last possible moment, and that moment came during the trial. Jake sat across the courtroom in his designer suit, acting calm and smug as always. He claimed emotional distress, lost sponsorships, and public humiliation, all because Emily had twisted the narrative. Then came the bombshell. Emily's attorney played the voicemail from Natalie. The courtroom went dead silent as Natalie's voice cracked through the speakers, admitting everything. The lies, the jealousy, the pregnancy by Jake's brother. Jake's face went pale. The judge called for a recess. Jake's team tried to argue the voicemail was obtained illegally, but Natalie herself confirmed it was real. In fact, she showed up in court the next day, uninvited. She looked tired, defeated, but she sat down in that witness chair and told the truth. All of it. Jake's manipulation, his cheating, how he pitted women against each other for sport. Emily didn't cry during the verdict. She didn't need to. The judge dismissed Jake's case entirely, called the suit an abuse of the legal system, and issued a warning that if he continued with threats or retaliation, criminal charges could follow. Afterward, as Emily walked out of the courthouse, cameras flashed. Someone shouted her name, asking how it felt to win. She didn't smile. She didn't pose. She simply said, "It was never about winning. It was about finally being heard." Months passed. The noise died down. Jake faded into the background, now a disgraced influencer with a broken reputation and 0 brand deals. Natalie moved to another city. She gave birth quietly, without fanfare. Emily, though, she thrived. She got promoted, started consulting for women-owned brands. Eventually, she shared her story in a podcast episode that went viral for the right reasons. She never said Jake's name. She didn't need to, because by then, everyone already knew who he was. And more importantly, they knew who she had become. Stronger, smarter, unshakable, and absolutely unforgettable. And that is how the truth always comes to light, no matter how deep the lies are buried. Subscribe our channel for more stories.